Was a busy weekend. Let's get to it. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, March 16th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we have a bunch of weekend news to recap. I have pitchers that we haven't talked enough about this spring. Maybe we haven't. Some deeper names as well. See what you guys think about that.
Man, Frank, not to interrupt your little bit of teasing here, but just from going through these weekend games, I wrote my deep sleepers, 40 deep sleepers heading into the weekend. Took me forever, but I put it out there. And then going through these weekend games, I was like, oh, I should have put him in there. Oh, I should have put him, like a dozen more players. I wish I
were there multiple Braves pitchers on there? Because I'm starting to get excited about a couple of young guys on the Braves now.
There was one.
Richie,
I think the other one. I think the other one. What did you say, Frank?
J.R. Richie.
J.R. Richie actually was in the 40.
Nice.
But Didier Fuentes seems like he's only pitched like 5 innings so far, but the stuff looks pretty nasty there too.
Yeah, he's definitely among the dozen that I'll at least be featuring them in Spring Risers.
Yeah. We actually are going to do a podcast just dedicated to deep sleepers at some point this week. I know we got a question on the mailbag last week asking about that. So we are going to have an ability, a chance to expand that roster, Scott, and talk about as many deep sleepers as we possibly can. Later on, we'll also recap the Tout Wars auctions that we did this weekend in person. I was in the 15-team mixed roto. That's with OBP instead of batting average. Chris was in the 12-team head-to-head points auction. So we'll talk about all that a little bit later on. Very fun weekend. Always great time. Tout Wars, get to meet up with everybody. People from all over the place, all here in the New York City area, draft in person. And we also did karaoke, Chris.
Yeah, Frank and I did a little karaoke. It was great.
My voice is kind of weird today. I don't know if that's affected by karaoke, but maybe
you were great. Frank did "Say It Ain't So" by Weezer. It was phenomenal. I did a little "Don't Look Back in Anger" by Oasis. That's kind of my go-to now. It's kind of cheating. I've done it like 10 times at karaoke now, but it gets people going, you know? Yeah. The lads were out in force on Friday night in the Village, and they were enjoying it.
Yeah, I was going to play the videos because we had video footage of this happening. I was going to play them on the episode here today, but copyright issues and things like that. So maybe I'll just post it on Twitter instead so everyone can see. The World Baseball Classic. How about it, man? Crazy weekend here. Started off on Friday. DR mercy rules Korea. Then USA held on to beat Canada. On Saturday, the fairy tale story for Italy continues. They defeated Puerto Rico. And then Venezuela shocked everybody by eliminating Japan as well. Then here on Sunday, we got one of the semifinal matchups. USA defeated Dominican Republic 2-1. And very questionable calls by the umpire down the stretch of that game.
That was such a terrible way for that game to end, man.
We need ABS in the next World Baseball.
Oh, that like I'm a lot more forgiving of umpires than most people are, I think. Ending a game on a pitch that missed by like 5 inches. Come on, man. That is so tough.
It's not what you want.
In a full count, too. Like, that was
a great at bat by Geraldo Perdomo, too. Like, he did everything he had to.
That was heartbreaking. That was a rough way to end a great game. But, man, I mean, with the exception of Dominican Republic, these games have mostly been really close and really fun. Dominican Republic games before the USA game were also very fun. They just weren't particularly close.
Right.
I think they mercy ruled like 3 out of their first 4 games or something. But, yeah, it's been awesome, man. The Venezuela game, Venezuela beating Japan was
your wife freaking out?
Oh my God.
Abreu home run, that was sick.
So, like, in our relationship, I'm the one who cries. Like, I'm the emotional one, and my wife is very stoic. She was getting a little emotional when Venezuela beat Japan. It was very cool, and her whole family were there. It was awesome.
And then here on Monday night, we do have the other semifinal matchup: Italy going up against Venezuela, and then we will have the final game, the World Baseball Classic Championship, on Tuesday. So once that happens, we'll talk about those games as well. Let's quickly just run through like the news and notes and stuff. There was some notable injury things that happened this weekend, so we'll get that out of the way. First up, Jose Ramirez. Probably not a big deal, but he's day-to-day with left shoulder inflammation. Apparently jammed his shoulder on a head-first slide into third base on Sunday. Perhaps he'll get some imaging and see, but Scott, this doesn't sound overly serious, right, with J-Ram?
I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. I know we're going to get some answers hopefully Monday, so we can eliminate that worry quickly, maybe. But if I happen to be drafting Monday, picking 6th, I might just take Kyle Tucker or Tarek Skubal instead because, a lot of times it's initially reported as a jammed shoulder and it doesn't stay a jammed shoulder. It becomes a dislocation or a torn labrum. I mean, they're saying he's going to be reevaluated Monday, which tells me they didn't do a thorough evaluation. It was bad enough that he came out of the game. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Maybe it's fine. But if you happen to be drafting in the next 24 hours, if it was me, I'd play it cautiously.
Oh, hey, we got Jose Ramirez on that beat FBT team, by the way. So
yeah,
hopefully he's
also
okay.
on my Towers team.
Yeah. I actually didn't write this one in. I guess it's probably just fine because he robbed a home run later in the game. But Julio Rodriguez got hit on his wrist by like 100-mile-per-hour pitch from Paul Skeens. But again, he stayed in, robbed an Aaron Judge home run or close to a home run. So I think he's all right. But, we could get more news on that as well. Francisco Lindor made his spring debut on Sunday. Afterwards, he said he would not commit to being ready for opening day, despite saying that he has checked every single box. So I think they're kind of hedging their bets right now. He went 1 for 3 with a hard hit single, 104.5 exit velocity. Chris, have you moved Lindor up or down, or is it just kind of status quo, end of the second round still for Lindor?
Yeah, I've moved him back up a little bit, not a ton, but a few spots. So it's more like 20, not 25. Not quite to where he was before. Just like with Corbin Carroll, I'm not quite to where I was before the injury, but I have moved them both up about 5 spots in the rankings.
Speaking of Corbin Carroll, he's expected to play in the outfield in games Wednesday and Thursday of this week, likely in a backfield game. He has made his return, but it's only been at DH so far, so we'll have to see how he does in the field as well. Zach Neto has been diagnosed with a minor left hand sprain and hopes to return to action in a couple of days.
No, I'm a little worried about that one, too.
Yeah. On your face. What's up? What do we got?
Not zero worry.
Because it's the same. He sprained the same hand last season, missed the final 2 weeks because of it. Now they've done X-rays. X-rays came back negative. I can imagine more being wrong with the hand than, they're calling it a sprain, so more is wrong with the hand than just a broken bone. But I don't know that they're able to gauge the timetable for this very well, particularly since it's a recurring injury. So I don't. Like, the worst case scenario for Ramirez is worse than for Neto, I would say. And so it's not quite the same level of avoidance on draft day, but I don't know. It's enough in both cases where until we get more clarity, and we'll probably have clarity sooner on Ramirez than Neto, but until we get more clarity, if I'm picking where they're supposed to go, I'm probably pivoting somewhere else to another player who's about as good because he's being drafted right in that same spot as well.
Yeah, and there was a quote. He said, quote, "Definitely a learning experience for me. Don't slide head first in spring training. Maybe get a bigger lead next time at first base. I caused this. I'm just a little sore, but everything should be back here in a few days." Doesn't sound serious, but I do wonder if it's like maybe it makes him a little less likely to run. And that's a big part of his value. Quote? Yeah, that's the Neto quote. So, that just makes me think, well, maybe he's going to be a little less likely to run. I don't think it's like a huge change in his value or anything, but it's something to think about with Zach Neto. And it's a pretty fragile skill set, I think. He's very good, but it's not like Zach Neto has outlier raw power or honestly, even an especially good approach at the plate. His plate discipline's pretty bad. So it is like, I think he's a good player, but it's not that hard to see how things could go wrong for Zach Neto, especially if, just let's say he was more of a 15 steal guy than a 26 steal guy. I think the whole profile looks a little worse. It's kind of like a better Trevor Story profile. We're like, yeah, he's probably going to be pretty good. But you don't have to squint too hard to see things kind of going sideways for Zach Neto. So he's someone that...
I feel like in Roto Leagues, he was being drafted at the full extent of his value.
I think that's pretty much the case. And he's not someone I've felt comfortable drafting so far this season. So, I'm not taking him off my board entirely, but he's never been really a target for me. And now maybe I'm a little slightly more scared off of him.
Zach Neto's ADP in March over at the NFBC is 32.5. So pretty steep ADP. We'll probably see that drop down a few picks over the next couple days. Zach Wheeler progressed to facing hitters on Saturday in a live batting practice. I couldn't find anything about velocity or anything. I don't know if you guys were able to, but his ADP continues to be on the rise. In March, it's at 125 as the SP27. I believe all of us are off that cost, right?
I just don't understand why his price is rising at all. I'm actually more inclined to lower him in my rankings based on how this spring training's gone. Not that there's been anything bad, but when it comes to this specific injury, the thoracic outlet syndrome, I know it's typically the nerve issue is usually the bigger concern than the venous one, but it's just a big unknown. Mm-hmm. And I think people are treating this spring as if we've gotten a bunch of good news, but we really haven't gotten any news about Zach Wheeler, at least about where he is right now. He is healthy and he is currently able to pitch, but is he still a major league caliber pitcher? I genuinely have no idea. I hope so, but I can't move him up in my rankings when we haven't seen what he looks like post-surgery. Like, it's coming off a blood clot and thoracic outlet syndrome. And we're like, oh, that's a 10th round pick. I can't do that. I
wonder if people are just not understanding that aspect of it. Cause I saw something online. I ran some surveys. And so I was looking at a lot of feedback, and, somebody was saying I forget who they were referring to, but why is Scott propping up this pitcher with an injury history when he's been knocking Zach Wheeler all spring? And it's like, well, Zach Wheeler's injury is different from what that pitcher. It's different from most pitcher injuries. It is the kind of injury that has been known to end careers, not, immediately when it happens, but the pitcher comes back and he's never the same. And you're right. Yes, it's usually nerve related, not vein related. The version of the thoracic outlet syndrome that ends the careers, but there's less of a history of pitchers having the vein related ones. So a little more successful, but still very, very, very much in question that Wheeler's going to be Wheeler again.
It's pretty much just Merrill Kelly, I think, that we count as like a big success story with this one. Scott, you mentioned you're doing spring rankings, rises and fallers. I don't know when you're planning on doing that, but
next week.
I'm doing that tomorrow.
Are you doing ADP tomorrow?
No, I switched it to spring rankings, rises and fallers.
Okay, because I was going to do an ADP thing tomorrow.
An ADP thing tomorrow.
Just having a little
it's good.
Programming meeting here.
Good to plan this out live on the show. But I have Zach Wheeler as a rankings faller for me. I'm much less likely to draft him, just because I figured we'd have some kind of data on what he looks like now, and we just don't. So, like, I have him as a faller, whereas Shane McClanahan, whose velocity is down 2 miles per hour, has had a ton of injuries over the past 3 years. I don't have him as a riser, but I don't have him as a faller either. I think the category was rankings somewhere in betweeners with Shane McClanahan and Connor Griffin, because Shane O'Mac actually had a very good start today. He kind of looked like Matthew Boyd, whereas like mediocre fastball, but the changeup was awesome. And It's like, there's nothing wrong with Matthew Boyd. It's just Matthew Boyd's not Shane McClanahan. It's just Shane McClanahan might not be Shane McClanahan. But at least we've seen him out there, and we can make some assessment of where he is. I think with Wheeler, I'm just kind of a no-go on him.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. Let me take a quick break, our first break, and when we return, we have a lot more news to get to. We'll do that right after this.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam! It is a basketball party. It's March! Expect the unexpected!
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Continuing on with the news from the weekend. Seiya Suzuki left Saturday night's WBC game with a right knee injury. Craig Counsell told the reporter Sunday that Suzuki is still waiting to be evaluated. Scott, is this a similar kind of wait and see approach to some of the other injuries we've talked about, where if it's around where he usually goes, just kind of pass for now until we learn more?
I'm expecting an IL stint to begin the year for Suzuki, personally, just based on the way it looked, based on the way he walked off. Not that I think it's like I don't know, it could be a bigger injury, but I think it'll be an injury that costs him some amount of time. Still in a holding pattern as far as rankings go, because, I mean, for most of these injuries over the weekend, we just need to hear more. But hopefully we hear something on Suzuki soon. I would probably avoid him for 2 or 3 rounds.
Brandon Woodruff threw 4 simulated innings at the Brewers complex on Friday and said after that his status for the opening day rotation is, quote, up in the air. We've gotten a lot of that this spring from Brandon Woodruff, so it's kind of a weird one as well, but at least he's pitching, so we'll wait to learn more on him as well. Gabriel Moreno has been diagnosed with elbow inflammation after an MRI didn't reveal any structural damage, so kind of wait and see approach on him as well. Hey, we got him on our beat.
They say he should be ready for opening day.
All right, good news. Lawrence Butler is planning to make his spring debut Tuesday against the White Sox. The A's have brought him along very slowly after having surgery on his right knee and then a PRP injection in his left knee. Chris, even if Butler returns on Tuesday and plays, I don't know, 3 to 5 games, I mean, that's nowhere near what we usually want to get from a hitter before we get to opening day.
Yeah, this is another one. His price is starting to fall. I think it's down about 20 spots over the last week from where I had been before, but where was all the enthusiasm and optimism coming from before? Like, did people just not realize that this guy had surgery on one knee and PRP injections in the other knee? That's pretty concerning for a guy who's not that good, you know? So I get the idea that, oh, maybe he was playing through injury last year, but I've found his price kind of hard to understand all along.
Well, if he was playing through injury, he might still be good. It's
sure.
I'm torn on Lawrence Butler because I could see it getting worse because, look, delayed start to spring training. He didn't come in fully healthy, clearly. So is he just going to be behind all season? You see players suffer an injury early on and then they're never right the whole year. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, well, this recovery revealed how injured he was last year. The fact that he needed this done to his knee, and he was playing basically the whole season like that. And so maybe it explains why he was such a letdown in fantasy. So it kind of washes out. I'm willing to take him at face value, straddling the upside and the downside there. But it definitely is not a safe pick by any means. It's not the sort of pick I like making in deeper leagues.
Yeah. Again, that's Lawrence Butler. His ADP in March is 156. Trevor Story has not played in 3 straight games, but apparently the Red Sox are just monitoring his workload this spring. I hope that's all it is. We'll see. Blue Jays manager John Schneider said Shane Bieber will potentially throw off a mound for the first time next week. He's still working through forearm fatigue. Speaking of the Blue Jays, Jose Barrios has elbow inflammation and will visit Dr. Keith Meister on Tuesday. So that is obviously very bad news for him and their rotation, but they built out a pretty good amount of depth here. So looks like Scherzer will be ready for the opening day rotation. Cody Ponce will be in there, and maybe they can't be as deliberate with Trey Savage as they once wanted to because just, injuries are piling up. So we'll see what happens. Lots of elbows going on this time of year. Joe Musgrove is in, quote, a bit of a holding pattern. According to his manager, Craig Stammen, Musgrove is returning from Tommy John surgery he had in October of 2024. He's only made 1 start this spring. It wasn't even an official spring start. It was an exhibition against Great Britain. But I'm not so sure that Joe Musgrove is going to be ready for opening day. This one kind of just snuck up on us.
Oh, I absolutely don't think he's going to be ready for opening day. I drafted him in Tout Wars.
Station is bad, man. Gosh.
They've got a lot of dudes in there. None of them are very good, except for, I don't know, Pivetta and Michael King. Am I forgetting someone? Am I forgetting anyone good in the Padres rotation?
I mean, it was supposed to be those two and Musgrove
and then
holding it down at the top.
Randy Vasquez and Walker Buehler and Ramon Marquez. Yeah. And I think there's another dude who might have been interesting 4 years ago in there. It's pretty bad. They're really trying to string it together there.
I don't really understand what's going on here with Musgrove, because the way they're presenting is, yeah, we're pulling back on him for now, but we expected this. We knew it was going to go. This is normal. There's nothing normal about this. I've seen pitchers come back from Tommy John surgery. This isn't how it normally goes. You don't throw him out there for a spring start and then give him 3 weeks off. I don't really understand what's happening here. They're acting like it's normal, but I don't believe them.
I don't either. Oliver Marmol said that Ivan Herrera was in a much better spot Saturday, and the team remains confident Herrera will be ready for opening day. He has missed the past week with knee inflammation. Merrill Kelly told reporters Friday that he'll likely start the season on the IL. He made his debut on Friday, but it just seems like he doesn't have enough time to get built up here, so perhaps a short IL stint there for Merrill Kelly to start the year. It turns out Quinn Priester is dealing with a nerve issue, they also said it's somewhere in the thoracic, which is very scary. He said an optimistic timeline is late April, early May. Don't think I buy that one.
I moved him down to around 400. He's pretty much off my board in a standard mixed league.
Yes, again, that was Quinn Priester. Pat Murphy did say that Logan Henderson is, quote, back on track after his bullpen session on Thursday. He is working through elbow soreness, which is scary because he ended last season on the IL with elbow inflammation. Kyle Stowers made his return from that hamstring injury on Saturday. He went 0 for 2 and played his scheduled 5 innings. We got an article this weekend from Mark Bowman, who covers the Braves for MLB.com, stating that the team plans to run more this season with their new base running coach, Antoine Richardson, around. We figured that was the case. It's nice to see it in writing and hear more about it.
Well, specifically, the article singled out Austin Riley as someone who could benefit, and he apparently was asking their other Braves, could he steal 15, and they were saying no, 20. Riley's going to steal 20. And look, his sprint speed's always been good, not like 90th percentile, but like 70th percentile. Good enough that he could steal bases if he wanted to, and if he had a good technique for it. Just never has. Yeah. So, I'm not moving Riley way up my boards on that theory, but they hired Antoine Richardson to steal more base. Like, that's why you go out and get that guy. So I think, you should at least keep it in the back of your mind for Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, and yes, Austin Riley.
Josh Young played in a minor league spring training game on Sunday, his first game action since suffering that grade 1 adductor strain. Josh Lowe returned from his left oblique injury Saturday against the Mariners. He went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. The Rangers designated Alexis Diaz for assignment. Do you guys have a feel for the closer situation in Texas right now?
Probably Robert Suarez, right?
Garcia?
Robert Garcia.
Robert Garcia, excuse me, yeah.
I don't. The only other choice would be Chris Martin, and nobody seems interested in doing that except people who run fantasy teams. So,
yeah,
it's got to be Robert Garcia.
I think it's just
they don't really have lefties in their bullpen. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you look at Chris Martin, like, dude is a 1 inning at most pitcher. Yeah, and I can't imagine he's pitching like regularly on back-to-backs or anything, given how like he hasn't thrown more than 45 innings in the last 2 seasons. He's never thrown 60 innings at the major league level.
He's about to be 40 years old.
Yeah, I think managers prefer not to go with, like, there's a lot of times when guys come back from injuries who are closers, and their managers will say, like, we're going to work them back slowly because we can't use them in back-to-back days. Like, a lot of managers just don't want to use pitchers that they can't use on consecutive days as closers. So
They got Jalen Beeks. He's a pretty good lefty. Jalen Beeks.
Yeah, I think it's
Skip Schumacher, when he managed the Marlins, was as dedicated to dedicated bullpen roles as any modern manager. He had a true 8th inning guy. He had a true 9th inning guy. So I don't think he's going to keep us in suspense for long, but I definitely plan to move Robert Garcia way up in my rankings in light of this news.
The Rangers designated, nope, I already read that one. Charlie Condon will open the season in the minors despite his strong spring. The Angels sent Christian Moore and Kyron Paris down to AAA, and apparently Adam Frazier is the leading candidate to start at second base. Woof. Sean Newcomb will work out of the bullpen for the White Sox this season. When he signed back in December, it sounded like there was a chance he would be a starter, but apparently that won't be the case. He will be a reliever. Speaking of relievers, Angels, Robert Stevenson underwent imaging that revealed potential UCL damage and will visit specialist Dr. Keith Meister to evaluate his options. Very unfortunate for him. He's dealt with a lot of arm injuries the past couple of years, but you can cross him off the list of Angels closer options. Jeff Fletcher, who covers the team, said Kirby Yates is likely the early favorite for saves, which we also suspected. Last news item here, Hayden Burke.
I have another closer item. Jason Burke of SI.com wrote about the Athletics bullpen situation over the weekend, and he highlighted Hogan Harris as the most likely to be the lead arm in a committee there. And he did not mention Justin Sterner, who seems to have been getting the most attention. He mentioned Scott Barlow and Mark Leiter as also in the committee, but Hogan Harris was the one he singled out. I took him with my last pick of TGFBI. We'll see.
Yeah, he is legitimately, according to Roster Resource, the only left-handed reliever in their bullpen. So we'll see. I mean, it's a name that's thrown out there. I know he got some saves down the stretch of last season. So
4 of them.
We'll see. Yep. All right, let's get into some pitchers from this spring. Should we be talking about these guys more? And we can move through pretty quickly through some of these names. If you don't think they're worth talking about, let's just keep it moving. But Max Fried, first up, I just wanted to mention here, his velocity has been down pretty consistently. And I thought early on this spring that, okay, he has time to get built up, but, you know, we're pretty close to the start of the season. And even when he started this weekend, his fastball was still down almost 2 miles per hour. His sinker was down 2 miles per hour, cutter down 1.5. You guys worried about this at all? I mean, we've seen Max Fried have success with this velocity before, but does it stand out at all?
Was he a notably better pitcher last year than the year before?
No, I mean, I think
his ERA was a little younger, but a little lower. But in terms of like the skill set, I don't think there was that much of a difference. His strikeout rate was identical.
He threw the most innings he ever has. That was the main thing.
Yeah,
but like, I don't think we saw like a huge sea change for Max Fried, and his velocity was up last season. So I'm not going to say it definitely doesn't matter, but I have no reason to be worried about Max Fried's velocity.
Yeah. Well, he's had the forearm stuff the past couple of years. Not last year, the years prior to that.
But he's not like, I don't know. I never want to do his velocity's down. That means he's hurt, because Max Fried would know that better than I would, right? Like, it could be a leading indicator, but I don't.
Longtime veteran. I haven't seen any concerning reports. Like the Yankees are worried about him. He might just be, he might just be doing what he needs to do to get ready, but not necessarily going full bore.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, we can keep things moving. Just wanted to ask about it. Next up, we have Chase Burns. He faced the Giants this weekend. He threw 2 shutout innings with 2 strikeouts, but he went from 68 pitches on March 8th down to just 24 pitches in this start. Terry Francona said Burns experienced a limited range of motion in his throwing arm earlier in the week. Quote, "We're nipping this in the bud right now." Any concern with Chase Burns?
I've been concerned about Burns for a while now, and to the point that even though, all offseason I talked about how it seemed like he was being underpriced relative to some of the other pitchers going into their second year, when I thought he had the most upside. Clearly, great strikeout potential. Put him in my breakouts article, but there's just been a weird vibe around him, and from the beginning, they've talked about him being in a competition for a role, which
they still are.
They still are talking about it. Now, I will point out Brandon Williamson, who now that Hunter Green is hurt, it's Rhett Lauder, Brandon Williamson, and Chase Burns for 2 spots. So only one of them is going to go. Brandon Williamson threw 4 shutout innings on Sunday, but Francona didn't give him a ringing endorsement. He's had a good spring, but he says, our biggest challenge with him is, hey, I'm getting on a 5-day rotation, because you come back from surgery like that and one day you feel pretty good. Next day it's like trying to navigate getting that routine, and it's just going to take some time. It's not his fault. He's done a great job. So it sounded like Francona was conceding that Williamson doesn't have the job, which, okay, maybe Burns is okay. But I don't know if there's a health thing going on, then that it's just weird that the Williamson start, that comment from Francona happened after this. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like he was acknowledging, well, Williamson isn't really in a place where he can do this yet. So I don't know. I think I'd just keep drafting Burns like normal, but I'm a little concerned about it.
I am including Burns in that spring training fallers segment for me. And it's everything Scott just said. It's just a little weird that I don't think it's weird that they're making him earn a spot. Like that's perfectly reasonable, but it is weird that we seem so much more confident in Chase Burns than the people who run the Reds do. He had the flexor strain last year. I think it was minor, but I don't know. And then there's just this weirdness. It's just been a weird spring. It hasn't been a bad one, although his results have been pretty iffy. But I was really excited to draft Chase Burns before, and now I'm just I'm okay if he falls, but I do need him to fall a little bit, maybe to around 120 before I'm really comfortable. Like, I think Chase Burns is probably more talented than Cameron Schlittler right now. I'm not sure Chase Burns is better right now, and certainly don't think he's as good of a bet. So,
it feels like Burns should be going closer to where Cam is. Like Schlittler's ADP is 132 in March, and Chase Burns is 117.
Yep, I think that's
a full round of difference.
I think that's, man. I think Cam Schlittler is just underrated.
He had the health issue at the start.
Yeah, he did have the back.
He had the back thing,
but he's looked great since returning. And
his velocity's been up. He's racking up whiffs. Yeah,
you can't, if you start downgrading every pitcher who's experienced a bump in the last, a health issue of some kind, severity in the last 6 to 8 months, then pretty soon there's nobody left to draft.
Yeah. Next up, we have Kodai Senga, who this weekend threw 3 perfect innings against the Marlins with 5 strikeouts. He had 8 whiffs on 38 pitches. His velocity has been up consistently. He's only made 2 starts this spring, so it's a small sample size. Very small. It's like 5 innings. But the fact that his velocity is up, I think is a good sign for him. The fact that, hopefully he's healthy. His ADP in March is 253. I just feel like he's a name we haven't talked much about. What do you guys think about Kodai Senga? Should he be more on our radar as a potential sleeper pitcher?
Yep. I'd say he's a definite riser. He talked about just remaking his mechanics even, and that's corresponded with this velocity bump. And at first I wasn't sure what to think of that because his previous start didn't get very good results, and he didn't sound so confident when he was talking about remaking himself, even though the velocity was up. But then after this latest one, the 5 perfect innings against the Marlins.
3 perfect. 3
perfect. 5 strikeouts. He just said, I'm healthy, and I think that's the most important thing. And yeah, I that's probably so. He probably wasn't healthy for most of last season, and it was a disaster. But I think Senga's definitely moved into the draftable in all leagues category again.
He was a must-start pitcher through June. I think it was like a late June start where he had the hamstring injury covering first. I was at the game, and he had like a sub-2 ERA at that point. It was totally unsustainable, but
but we didn't expect him to crash so hard that he ended up in the minor leagues.
So I think that's definitely a name to keep on your late round radar.
Next up here, we have Robbie Ray, who this weekend threw 5 perfect innings with 8 strikeouts. He had 8 swinging strikes on 64 pitches. His slider was filthy. 6 of those 8 whiffs with a 60% CSW rate. His last 2 spring starts, 9 no-hit innings with 12 strikeouts to 4 walks. This is one of those where, like, I don't want to make a big thing about a veteran who just looks good this spring, but he's another name that we just haven't really talked too much about this offseason. So have you gained any confidence, or does this not really matter for a veteran that just is pitching well right now?
I think Scott has to answer this one because he's the
like
I'm kind of in on Robbie Ray, and Scott's way out.
Well, I definitely took a second look at this. When I saw this box score, it's obviously an attention grabber. He threw only 60% of his pitches for strikes in it. So it was kind of fortunate that he had no walks. I think he had 4 walks in his previous start, right? And that's And that's all. That was the biggest issue for Ray down the stretch last season. It's sort of always been an issue in his career. I think I'm a little more open to drafting him, but I'm not eager to draft him. There have been drafts where he's been my top pitcher available, and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to though. So I just kept skipping him, and I might be a little more willing to take him where I rank him in light of this spring. But I don't think it hasn't been so transformative that I have a whole new outlook on Ray, who of course is pretty old and has been around for a long time.
Robbie Ray's ADP in March is 176. He's going 1 spot behind Mackenzie Gore. That feels kind of foolish, right? Like, don't we just want Mackenzie Gore to do what Robbie Ray just did last year? And Robbie Ray has done it for longer.
I think I rank Ray ahead of Gore, but I haven't been the Gore guy either.
Yeah. I mean, I like Gore, but I would still take Robbie Ray ahead of him just because he's done it. He's actually done it. Mackenzie Gore hasn't. And they seem like a pretty similar profile, so.
Yeah, I think both are actually pretty good drafts at their price. So
175 range. Yeah. So yeah, you could just grab one, grab both. Why not? Last name here before I get
your
to
whip. That's why not.
Yeah, you don't want both of them. Yes, you are correct, Scott. So one of them with Shota Imanaga, balance that out, and you'll be all right. Last name here before I get to some deep names that I want to just quickly run through. Zach Gallen. The results weren't great this weekend, but I've noticed that his velocity has been up pretty consistently this spring, like 1.5 to 2 miles per hour on all of his pitches. Chris, any more interest than, when we enter draft season on Zach Gallen seeing this slight velo bump?
Sure. Yeah, I think he's kind of been left for dead in a lot of ways. I guess his ADP is right around 200, so that's not entirely fair. He is getting drafted in pretty much every league, but I think he's a totally fine end of rotation arm to grab. And I think the nice thing is you're not so convinced that there's upside that if he gets off to a shaky start, you have to hang on to him forever. And there is something freeing about taking guys who you're just kind of like, let's give them a turn or two through the rotation, see if they have it. If they don't, I don't feel that bad about dropping Zach Gallen for whatever hot new thing is coming out that you can try to pick up in that first or second waiver wire. So yeah, I'll draft him outside the top 200 and see if he can carry over this velocity bump and be a more effective version of himself.
It would be hard, I think. Well, I don't know. Players are so disposable in a points league. I was going to say it'd be harder to drop Gallen in a points league because I think he's going to have value all season long, even if just last year's version shows up, because it'll be an innings eater. But even in that format, if you're talking about standard CBS size, players are pretty disposable, so he might be on the fringes there.
Which veteran would you rather take a shot on late, Zach Gallen or Kodai Senga?
Probably Gallen for me.
Yeah.
Certainly in a points league, I think.
Certainly in a points league, Gallen. Probably Gallen regardless, but I am hesitating because I have seen clearer signs of improvement from Senga, who himself was, when coming off that rookie year, how long ago was that? He was being drafted like a top 25 starting pitcher, right? He was a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take our final break. When we return, I have a bunch of deep names that we will quickly run through. Should we be paying more attention? We'll do that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ hits every highlight from all the sports that matter to you.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, streaming free 24/7.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's take a look at some deep league pitchers and some names that have looked pretty good this spring. Do they matter? Should we care more about them for fantasy? We care about all of them, obviously. Max Scherzer this weekend, 4 2/3 shutout innings with 5 strikeouts. I don't know how many innings he's going to throw, but he's looked pretty good this spring. Deeper leagues, should we care more about Max Scherzer this season?
Yeah, I saw him go in a 24-team league I was in, and I thought, I wish I had done that. As dominant as he was against the Tigers, 11 whiffs on 65 pitches, 6 on the fastball. He's probably going to miss time here and there, but in a deep enough league, I think he'll be useful.
I think I already know the answer to this one. I know you and I both like him, Scott, but Jacob Lopez, man, he has looked good. 4 no-hit innings this weekend with 7 strikeouts to 1 walk. He had 10 swinging strikes on 52 pitches. And I know there was some injury concern. I totally get that. But, man, for where he's going, I feel like he should probably just be like a last-round flyer, even in a 12-team league.
He was in my 40 deep sleepers, Jacob Lopez. But I don't think he should qualify as a deep sleeper because I think he showed enough last year. Obviously he was injured for the start of spring training, and so I think it raised some doubt whether he'd be in the rotation at all. Though it sounds like the way the beat writers were talking after this start, it's not really a question anymore. He strikes out, like he doesn't throw very hard, so he's not a conventional prospect. I mean, it doesn't qualify as a prospect. I mean, he never was really a prospect because of the velocity, but he's unconventional fastball shape, unorthodox delivery from the left side, just the kind of weird pitcher. You see it in the strikeout numbers everywhere he's gone, including in the majors last year. So I think Jacob Lopez is going to be, I think he's a real one. I think you definitely need to have him on your radar, more so than Scherzer.
Weird is the right word. I think Jacob Lopez is one of the weirder pitchers in baseball. His pitches just do not move. Like, one nice thing about Baseball Savant, if you go to the top right of any player's page, you'll get their pitch plot, like the movement profile, the velocity, the horizontal and vertical movement, and then they have the little dotted area or the dashed area behind it, which is what that pitch type typically moves like when lefties throw them, let's say. And Jacob Lopez has just looked nothing like any other pitchers. Like his sliders get way more lateral movement than typical. His cutters have way more rise and way less sweep. His four-seamers have way more lateral movement. And the thing about that is, we talk a lot about IVB, and you want a higher IVB. That's typically the way we view it. But I think it is better to say you just want IVB that doesn't look like most pitchers. So Joe Ryan is a guy who does not get a ton of IVB on his four-seamer, but he gets a lot of run, and it works differently than most four-seamers, which makes it play up. And Jacob Lopez is kind of like that with every pitch. Like there aren't going to be a lot of guys who look like Jacob Lopez, so I think that's going to help him.
So one last note on Jacob Lopez. I was trying to look up the injury real quick. He missed most of September with an injury. He missed all of September with an injury and got knocked around in that final start where they discovered he had an injury. Mm-hmm. His final 13 starts, leaving out that last one where he was hurt, Jacob Lopez had a 2.17 ERA, an even 1 whip, and 10.5 K per nines. 13 starts.
All right, I have 4 other names here that I want to quickly mention. You guys tell me if any of them matter. Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, this is one of those things where I don't want to get sucked in by spring training.
No.
But he has looked good. He threw 5 perfect innings with 6 strikeouts this weekend. And so far this spring, 10 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts to 3 walks. Jacob Latz is competing for a Rangers rotation job. He had 14 swinging strikes in a start this weekend. He has been doing a good job getting whiffs. Brandon Sproat, I guess, could be in the mix for a rotation spot just because the Brewers have some injuries there. His velocity has been up this spring. He also has implemented a new cutter. And J.R. Ritchie, who we mentioned earlier, prospect with the Braves. I don't know that I guess he could be competing for a spot with Bryce Elder. But
probably
there's also
not right
just
away.
A lot of injury risk in that rotation.
Yeah.
So
they're going to need more pitchers. Both him and Didier Fuentes, as we mentioned at the top. They've looked really good this spring, and at some point, I imagine they'll replace Bryce Elder, Martin Perez, whoever else they get to fill out the rotation.
The Braves really seem to have a lot more faith in oh my God, Bryce Elder. Jeez, I kept thinking Joey Wentz, but he got hurt. In Bryce Elder than like anybody should.
I think it's just he's out of options and they don't want
Yeah.
to lose the depth. I
But-
think that's the main thing. Though he did have a good start last time out and had a different pitch selection. I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not talking up Bryce
Scott,
Elder as a
stop trying to
fantasy
make
candidate.
fetch happen.
I'm just saying, he's been useful before. It's been a while.
Actually, stop trying to make fetch happen is Brandon Pfaadt. This dude is bad. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Frank, you want to like Brandon Pfaadt, and that's fine. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. I will
You're
just
here to
say,
fight over fought.
just open the Underdog app and draft him in a best ball. He'll have like 5 awesome starts, and then he will be horrible the rest of the time. We are 4 years into this, right? Like we know who he is. We know who he is.
Well, apparently he supposedly, I read that he made a mechanical adjustment to make his sweeper more effective because it got throttled last year, and that's what kind of messed everything up. But I don't see different characteristics on that sweeper, so I'm just not sure I buy that. He has had a good spring. I'm not any more interested in drafting Brandon Pfaadt than I am. I'm a little more interested in the Bryce Elder, but only a little bit more.
Brandon Pfaadt's got a 5.13 ERA over 500 innings.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
I just there has not been a worse pitcher given as much attention by the fantasy community as Brandon Pfaadt in the 15 years I've been doing this job. It's wild. I'm not doing the Brandon Pfaadt thing again.
Any deep league interest in Latz, Sproat, or J.R. Ritchie?
Ritchie has a stash. He'll probably be among my 10 favorite minor leaguers to stash.
Yeah. I think Latz is interesting, but probably not much more than interesting. And Sproat, I'm not a huge believer in, but the Brewers are a team that's worth betting on. So if it does look like he's going to get an opportunity, I think he's worth a look, but not someone you should draft before he has a chance. I don't think this is a guy that you have to make sure you're stashing in a minor league spot or anything.
Can I bring up a hitter who has surprisingly had a really impressive spring? There's probably nothing to it.
Is it Matt McClain?
No. Everybody knows about Matt McClain. It's somebody
he's up to 150 in ADP over the last week, by the way.
He hit another home run.
It's someone with as many home runs as Matt McClain, though.
Okay.
Is it this Honeycutt? Is that guy's name?
No, it's Josh Smith. It's Josh Smith, who's never really showed power in the majors before. But officially, he has 4 home runs. The home run he hit Saturday, he hit 109.8 miles per hour, which equaled the hardest hit ball of his career. Officially 4 home runs, but he also had 2 home runs in an exhibition game against Brazil. So really it's 6 home runs that Josh Smith has hit this spring. And again, harder exit velocities than we typically see from him. And apparently he is doing the thing George Springer did last year. And you hear about a lot of times when players see a power surge as they stop taking defensive swings. It's often guys who run low strikeout rates and they're just trying to put the ball in play and they're not unleashing their A swing. That's what afflicted Springer apparently in the years leading up to last year, and Blue Jays coaching staff got him away from that, got him to unleash that A swing more last year. Apparently that's what the Rangers have talked Josh Smith into doing. We're seeing results in spring training. He plays in the Cactus League. I'm sure the pitchers he was facing in that Brazil exhibition game weren't that great. But if you're in a deep enough league, he's multi-eligible. He has an everyday role, and I think his spring is worth highlighting. Josh Smith for the Rangers.
Was it against Jose Contreras' kid? I think that was the one impressive Brazil pitcher. Far.
He's 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
Did he strike out
not
Judge
major league impressive?
Got him to hit into a double play or something?
Yeah, he struck Raleigh out and then got Judge into a double play, something like that.
Yep. 2 other pitchers I just wanted to quickly highlight here from the weekend. Nick Pivetta, he's been dealing with this arm fatigue. He made a start this weekend, got up to 56 pitches, and his velocity was actually up a little bit. So I thought that was a good sign there for Nick Pivetta. And then Shane McClanahan, we mentioned his name earlier, 3 2/3, no hit innings, 7 strikeouts and 2 walks, had 10 swinging strikes on 55 pitches. Fastball velocity remains down. It's down 2 miles per hour. He averaged 94.8 miles per hour in this start. But his changeup looked really, really good here. what do you guys take away from Shane McClanahan's start this weekend? Anything at all, or is it just kind of status quo with him holding patterns?
So
Gone up. It's gone up half a mile per hour each start. It's still down 2, the fastball, but it's inching up. Everything you read afterwards still sounds very optimistic. And the changeup was great, obviously, in this start. I don't know. I'm starting to get. I'm not ready to tout McClanahan as like a sleeper or a big bounce back candidate, but I had no interest in him before, and I'm starting to get a little bit interested.
So I will just say I think there is almost no reason to believe he can be Shane McClanahan again. Like that guy who used to be arguably the best pitcher in baseball, I don't think that's ever coming back. I just the IVB is 2 inches lower. Like every stuff metric that I've seen, there are like 6 different ones floating around there. They all agree that Shane McClanahan's fastball is not very good right now. It's 95, but it's 95 with pretty mediocre shape. I made the Matthew Boyd comparison earlier, and the reason I made that comparison was because Matthew Boyd gets by with 93, 94, but he locates it well, and he's got the killer changeup. And that does seem to be what Shane McClanahan still has. Like the changeup has looked awesome in both starts so far this spring. So I think like that seems like a diss to Shane McClanahan to compare him to Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd was really good last year.
Yeah.
And like if you get what are we expecting from Matthew Boyd? Like a 3.60 ERA, probably I would hope for more strikeouts from Shane McClanahan than Matthew Boyd because I think he was like 8 per 9 last year. But it's just to say Shane McClanahan can still be a useful pitcher without still being Shane McClanahan. So I think it's just about keeping your expectations in check. I don't think you should be drafting Shane McClanahan 200th overall thinking this guy's got some big upside. But if you draft him 200th overall thinking, yeah, he could be really useful and there are going to be some really impressive nights. There are going to be some nights when he doesn't have it and he gets hit hard. But on the whole, I think he can still be useful. It's just I don't personally see the path to the high-end outcomes for Shane McClanahan consistently is the way I would put it.
So I brought this up on Wednesday's show. If Spencer Strider was going as late as Shane McClanahan, would you be willing to entertain a mid-ground possibility for him too? Because I feel like the conversation on Strider has been all in or all out. Mm-hmm. Maybe he could be Sonny Gray.
Sure. Yeah, it's all about the price. And with McClanahan, the price has been over the last week, I think, still around 200. That's about 90 to 100 spots later than Spencer Strider. And so it's, of course, it's much easier to look on the bright side when you're talking about that. With Strider, things have to go right for him to justify that price.
Yeah.
McClanahan just kind of needs to be okay. He just needs to be a non-disaster to be useful.
It's a hypothetical because we have seen in some of our own drafts Strider fall for a long time.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up here taking a look at our Tout Wars drafts from this weekend. I will put the link in the YouTube and the podcast description so you can take a look at all the teams and the prices and things like that if you so please. So I'm going to pull up the draft board here for those watching. Well, really Google Sheet for those watching to get an idea for what Chris did, and we will start there. Chris was in the 12-team head-to-head points Tout Wars auction, standard $260 budget. The only difference here is that it's roto-sized lineups, but it's head-to-head points. It is using the CBS Sports point scoring system. And Chris, you spent 73% of your budget on hitting, 27% on pitching. This is probably a foolish question, but did you have a strategy going into it?
Buddy, I didn't. I mean, no, I have a general strategy to how I approach my drafts now, my auctions. And as a general rule, it is aggressive early, get those high-end players, those guys who are truly irreplaceable. And in this context, it would be Jose Ramirez, Gunnar Henderson, Ketel Marte, Kyle Tucker, Garrett Crochet. I mean, that is a heck of a top 5 for any team. That is 5 second rounders, at least, like top 20 picks pretty much across the board. Maybe Ketel Marte is more like 25, but I love getting those 5 guys. And then it's a real test because I don't have patience as a person, just in general. I'm a very impatient person. But I just, once I do that, and I've got those guys who are truly irreplaceable, I know most of the rest of the player pool, yeah, there are guys I like, but they're, once you get, I think, who were we talking about? It was Seiya Suzuki. I moved him down about 30 spots in the rankings as a result of the injury in the overall, which that sounds like a big drop. Well, kind of. He went from being in the $16 range to a $15 player in my auction value, because I just don't think the outside the top, 50 or so, whatever the number is, I don't think the differences between players are all that big. And so I would rather be very, very aggressive at the high end and and trust that I will be able to find replaceable guys in the mid-range and not have to spend like the difference between the difference between the $12 guys and the $20 guys just isn't going to be as big as you would think. And you can always find values if you're smart and patient. And so I think it worked out really well in this draft. I'm pretty happy with it.
I mean, the prices for your like the caliber of player you got on the lower end, like a $4 Trevor Rogers, $1 Blake Snell. Nobody went 2 on Blake Snell. So I mean, I understand he's hurt, but it's
that happened to me. What happened to me multiple times in this draft, it was the weirdest thing, was I want to say Snell was the first one. I just threw him out for $1, not that deep into the draft, maybe 100 nominations in. I threw him out for $1 and nobody bid at all.
Yelich with outfield eligibility in a points league, $8. Like, what the heck was going? And the thing is, you got all these studs, and they went for less than they usually go in our auctions. Mm-hmm. And you'd think, oh well, the mid tier, the low dollar, they're going to go for more because of that, and they didn't. Like, they went for less also. Like, I feel like this is the nose pickers division. Like, what were they do? What did everybody else do here?
I think
you don't have a bad player, is how it looks to me.
I think the dynamic with this league, and Frank, I think it was probably true for yours, we are not drafting in a draft software. We are not, we do not have the player pool picked up, and I can't sort by best player remaining by Scott White's rankings. I think that dynamic alone really changes a lot about how people approach auctions. And
doesn't everybody come in with their laptops and their spreadsheets?
I agree.
They've been researching it for 2 weeks.
But it just creates a different dynamic. And in this draft, there were 5 or 6 different players that I got through without a follow-up bid on my nominations. And they weren't necessarily players I wanted. Like, I've made my Noelvi Marte skepticism pretty well known. He was added to my Bust 2.0 last week. I got him for $3. Like, I threw him out there for $3. He's third base and outfield eligible in this league, and he got through. There's my corner infielder. Jackson Holiday. I threw him out for $2. I figured somebody's going to get Jackson Holiday. He's only going to miss a couple weeks. Nobody bids. Chandler Simpson, this is not his format. He's better in Roto, but I thought somebody would bid $2.
In a 5 outfielder points league, though, he's still a starter.
I think so.
Your outfield is. You spent a combined $18 on Brandon Nimmo, Christian Yelich, Chandler Simpson. 2 of them are great head-to-head points players. That's your outfielder 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
it's so hard in a Roto league where I think there are more viable starters than in a points league in the outfield. It's so hard to get that strong of a 1 through 5. And I don't see a hole. I mean, Noelvi Marte could begin the year in the minors. Jackson Holiday could begin the year on the IL. They're your corner and middle infield options.
Yeah, I've got injured players like Jackson
Sandy
Holiday,
Alcantara,
Blake Snell.
$9 in a points league. Come on.
Yeah, but Sandy Alcantara, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, they're probably all going to start in the IL. So I do, and I have Kyle Teal for $1. So but I don't mind that, because this is an unlimited IL league.
Yep.
So I can I got 4 free bites at the apple the first waiver ride.
Kyle Teal is the second catcher for $1, even knowing he's going to miss a couple weeks. And here's the kicker. All right, we haven't talked about your bench. This is what really. Because, okay, sometimes.
Well, do we want to go through the team as a whole? Because people listening can't see it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got to read off the offense first. You got Francisco Alvarez for 9, Kyle Teal for 1, Wilson Contreras for 11, Jose Ramirez for 39, Noelvi Marte for 3, Ketel Marte for 24, Gunnar Henderson for 29, Jackson Holiday for 2, and then in the outfield, Kyle Tucker for 34, James Wood for 18, Brandon Nimmo for 9, Chandler Simpson for 1, Christian Yelich for 8, and then Marcus Semien for 3. So you could throw Semien at second base while Holiday is out. Yeah. And then...
And remember, this is a points league, so you're not even concerned about balancing categories. You're just trying to get as much production as you can.
Right. Before we get to the pitchers, I will just quickly mention your reserves because they factor into what you did drafting some injured hitters here. You got Ivan Herrera, Isaac Paredes, Andrew Painter, Owen Casey, Jameson Taillon, Adrian Hauser.
So how in a 12-team league with roto lineups does not just Ivan Herrera make it to the reserve rounds, but Isaac Paredes both? I mean, this is a better scoring format for both of them than
the Ivan Herrera one.
Never make it that far normally.
One person did put Ivan Herrera out as a catcher because I think that this league has 15 games for eligibility.
He had
14.
Yeah.
So I think he got nominated as a catcher pretty late, and then it was like, no, you got to do that back. He didn't have room for him in his roster. I just think nobody had any utility spots left.
That's crazy
by the time he was nominated. Because I had him as my top player for a long time, but I had
a hype guy all preseason.
Yeah, I had already filled up my util, so I couldn't bid on Ivan Herrera. So I was just looking at him like he's like my 157th player or something. And he made it to the reserve rounds just because I think people filled up their utils early.
And that's crazy. So you take Herrera in the first round of the reserved round, and then somehow nobody takes Isaac Paredes for the whole first. Like, it wasn't just that he made it there, but people passed on him. So basically what's going to happen here is you're going to move Marcus Semien to middle infield to replace Jackson Holiday, and you're going to put Ivan Herrera at your DH. Then you're going to move Isaac Paredes into corner infield to replace Noelvi Marte. If he's not available, honestly, Paredes is probably a better starter for points leagues, even if he is.
Yeah, I might bench Noelvi Marte and start Isaac Paredes there. Yeah, I've got 2 starting caliber players on my bench. That feels very good.
I hope you win this league just because the rest of the league needs to be punished for what they did here.
My pitching staff can be a little shaky. It's not.
Well, it's a points league, and it's only 12 teams. I mean, it's You don't have, so they don't divide starters and relief pitchers. It's just
you have to have 2 relief pitchers.
You do have to have 2 relief pitchers. Okay.
It's 7 pitcher spots. You could theoretically run out 9 closers if you wanted to do that. It's 7 just pitcher spots and then 2 relief pitcher spots.
Okay.
And so. Reading off your pitchers here, Chris, you got Garrett Crochet for 37, Sandy Alcantara for 9, Joe Musgrove for 3, Luis Castillo for 5, Matthew Boyd for 4, Trevor Rogers for 4, Blake Snell for 1, and then your relievers, you have Trevor McGill and Ryan Nelson as a spark there for $3. I mean, my biggest criticism coming out of it, I think like all the values you got were great for how much you paid for them. My only thing is like, would like a better SP2, but sure. I mean, Blake Snell could eventually be that for you. So
yeah, and I prefer, if I'm gonna have Blake Snell, I think doing it in a head-to-head points league, like just he's gonna be a must-start guy when he's healthy, and those weeks should be more impactful when he is healthy because presumably it will be the playoffs, at least if he avoids getting hurt again. So I'm okay with that. Musgrove, I wish I had, I'm going to have to put Jameson Taillon or Adrian Hauser or Andrew Painter, like whoever has the best matchup. I'll have to have them in my lineup ahead of
But somebody's going to merge off the waiver wire.
Yeah, so I'll have to be aggressive on the waiver wire with my pitchers.
You can stream much better in a points league because it's just a much more forgiving format. You're just looking for volume. I don't think you need a true number 2.
I mean, I rank Sandy pretty close to being a number 2 anyway.
Yeah,
so
he could be that for sure.
In a points league for sure.
All right.
So I'm pretty happy with this.
I mean, Trevor Rogers could be a number 2.
I feel I I feel at least a couple of the auctions I've done this offseason, I have felt better about those than like any I've done in a long time. I think aggressive early, patient late, and pick your spots and have the ability to pick which players in the $5 to $10 to $12 range that you really like. So in this one, it was Christian Yelich and Brandon Nimmo. Like, I knew I wanted those guys in a points league, especially with Yelich having outfield eligibility. I feel very good about that approach.
All right, let's slide over to my Tout Wars auction from this weekend. I was in the 15-team mixed roto with OBP instead of batting average, and also a $260 budget. I spent 65% on hitting, 35% on pitching. That pretty much went according to plan. I wanted one of Judge, Ohtani, or Soto going in, but my God, Aaron Judge went for $63. That is an all-time Tout Wars record. What's funny is earlier in the day, they had the AL only auction in the morning. He went for 62. At that point, that was the Tout Wars record. And then later in the day, he went for 63. He went for one more. And so the record was broken twice in the same
The high-end players were so aggressive in yours. Wow.
Yeah. And that is something that I have noticed is pretty consistent year over year. The high-end hitters go for a lot. And then you don't know it necessarily where the inflation is going to come. But I think what I'm learning now 2 years in a row is the $10 to $15 outfielders, or like not even $13 to $15 outfielders, they all go for 7 to 10. Like, that is where the inflation is felt every single year. A lot of I felt like the SP2s and SP3s went for cheaper prices than they should have as well. So again, there is a finite amount of money in an auction. If everyone is overspending like crazy for the hitters up top, there are going to be bargains at some point. There just has to be. That's the math, the way everything works here in an auction. So I didn't get Judge, obviously. I think I was in at like 55, 56, but then I bowed out. I wasn't going up to 60.
There was $7 more to go.
Yeah. Ohtani went for 58, Soto for 54, so it was too much for me. I pivoted to Ronald Acuna for 46, and that was $4 less than Bobby Witt. It was $1 more than Jose Ramirez.
Love that.
Same price as Fernando Tatis. Like, there was a crazy bidding war for Tatis.
Was he like the last first-round caliber player?
He might have been.
Yeah, because I can see that happening where you're staring at. I mean, look, I have Ellie De La Cruz ranked ahead of Fernando Tatis. I think the consensus does, and he went for 39. So, yeah, that's interesting that Fernando Tatis was the guy that got bid up.
Yeah, so I'll read off my hitting here, and I'll let you guys judge it. I got Will Smith of the Dodgers at catcher. I don't know that I need to say the Dodgers anymore.
I think we're done. Yeah, I think we're past that one.
I got Carlos Narvaez as my catcher too. I really wanted like a $7-ish second catcher, and I just did not budget correctly for that later on. Vinny P! Baby! Oh, it's press two buttons at once. Baby! Vinny Pasquantino for 19. I got Kazuma Okamoto for 9. Andrew Vaughn for 6. Bryson Stott for 9. Corey Seager for 18. JJ Weatherhold for 4. In the outfield, I have Ronald Acuna for 46. Brent Rooker for 22. Sal Frelick for 7. Dalton Varsho for 5. Jake McCarthy for 1. And Marcus Semien for 5.
How weird that you both got Semien in your utility spot.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Classic DH, Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's hard to compare to what Chris just put together, but this is 15 teams, right?
This is 15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 15 team roto. Like, okay, you got a bad second catcher. It's going to happen. You only spent $1 on him at least, and I think you built a strong. I mean, that's a strong outfield.
Yeah,
getting Varsho for only 5 in a 15-team roto league. Yeah,
I ran him through the ATC projections with OBP, and he was like a $13 player. So.
Yeah, I love the Frelick Varsho combo. I think that's great. And
Weatherhold.
Look, JJ McCarthy. We haven't talked a lot about him, but I don't know, Scott, if he made your deep sleepers list, but
not JJ McCarthy.
Sorry, Jake McCarthy.
I keep calling him Brandon McCarthy is the thing.
The JJ McCarthy memes, I'm thinking about those now.
Yeah.
Jake McCarthy, outfielder for your Colorado Rockies.
Stole his fifth and sixth base this Sunday, and looks like he's going to hit leadoff.
2 years ago, I think he hit didn't he hit 275 with 30 steals or something?
I think it was 285.
Yeah, I think Jake McCarthy could actually be a pretty useful fantasy option in Colorado.
As a fifth outfielder in a 15-team roto league,
in a roto league,
for $1, there's you balance the categories well. But what amazes me most is sort of like you got sort of like with Chris, not quite to the same degree, but you got some like Corey Seager for $18. That seems like a good price for a high-end player. Pasquantino for $19. It's a pretty good price for a high-end player considering it's 15 teams. And then you look at you were still able to get some of the popular buzzworthy mid to late round targets, the kind you would really want to be your low dollar players, but they tend in auctions to get elevated just because they're the ones everybody wants. And you didn't really have to pay a premium for them, like Okamoto as your third baseman for $9.
Yep.
And Dalton Varsho for $5.
Actually,
JJ Weatherholt is your middle infielder for $4. Now that it looks clearer than ever, he's going to be on the team.
One of my FOMO guys, man. I had to get him in at least one league, and in OBP, he's going to be so good in OBP too.
Bryson Stott is very boring, but like in a 15-team league, especially, I think that's a really nice second baseman. He
needed his speed.
changed his batting stance or his swing setup around August last year, and has actually been really good since then, including postseason, last 2 months of last year, and having a really good spring so far. So could be a slightly better. I'm not saying Bryson Stott's going to have like a breakout season, but could be a slightly better version than the very boring guy he's been.
The one thing I was worried about afterwards was power. I have 3 guys in the lineup that could be like 8 to 12 home run hitters.
Yeah.
So like
you really need the Dalton Varsho breakout to be real.
Scott, Frelick, and McCarthy, they could all be in that like 8 to 12 homer range. So,
but you got number of guys that you expect 30 plus from. You balanced it well with them. Pasquantino, Seager, Acuna, Rooker.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Varsho in that category because I'm a big Varsho believer. I know he's never done it before, but I expect him to this year.
It was basically 22 and a half season last year.
Yeah, for Varsho. So I wanted Sal Stewart as my corner. I think he went for 7 or 8. It was at a point where I didn't really want to go much further than that. And there were other corners I liked, like Andrew Vaughn for 6. I'm already talking to Justin Mason. I'm trying to trade for Sal Stewart. So we'll see if we can get that done. And I really wanted Caglione, but I figured, everyone wants Caglione now. And I think he got up to 12, but I budgeted my third outfielder spot for a power hitting kind of hype outfielder. And that was either Caglione or Varsho. And I wanted to spend like $8 to $10 in that range. Again, Cags went for 12. I got Varsho for 5. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
That trade-off comparatively between the
Cags
two.
went for 12 in my league. Sal Stewart went for 14. That, you know what? That's
Sal
actually
Stewart in your league.
It was the same person who got both. It was Joe Galena.
My boy Joe.
And I will say, did I mention the Sal Stewart thing earlier on the show? Or was that before the show?
I don't think it was.
I had planned on either Sal Stewart or Jorge Polanco for my first baseman. And Sal Stewart got to like 12, and I was like, that's too much. I can't do it. I'm going to pivot to Jorge Polanco as my first baseman, except I already had Ketel Marte, Jackson Holliday, Marcus Semien. And I realized too late after the Sal Stewart one that Jorge Polanco is not actually first base eligible until 5 games or so into the season. So I kind of screwed myself up there.
You still got William Contreras.
Yeah, William Contreras
That's better
is
than
fine.
Polanco anyway.
Wilson.
Contreras. I like Polanco a little more, but I think it's probably fine. Yeah.
I like Wilson in a points league. I think that suits his skill set pretty well. He usually walks quite a bit. He's going to be in the middle of that lineup. Reading off my pitching staff real quick, I've got Hunter Brown for 25, Jacob deGrom for 19, Dylan Cease for 13, Nick Lodolo for 9, Garrett Cole for 6, Chad Patrick for 1, and then the closers, I have Raisel Iglesias for 11, Sir Anthony Dominguez for 6, Clayton Beater for 2. On the bench, I have Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly in the reserves, he's like a $3 or $4 pitcher at least in a 15-teamer. Robbie Snelling, much easier to stash a prospect in weekly lineup leagues. Max Meyer, Kobe Mayo, Simeon Woods Richardson, and Luis Angel Acuna. So that gives me the brothers Acuna on my team. I don't know what the plural is for that, but I have.
This looks like a more typical bench for a league with lineups this size.
Yep.
Kelly, okay, yeah, he probably should have. He probably should have gone in the auction phase, but not for a ton of money.
Right. The pitching staff is kind of weird for me. It's like I don't target Hunter Brown. I wanted Yamamoto or Sanchez or Chris Sale, and they all went for like 25 to 27. I think Sanchez went for 26. I was kind of kicking myself for not going 27 on him. I like Sanchez a lot. I don't know. I think I kind of panicked because like I wanted a top 10 starting pitcher, but I'm not really a Hunter Brown guy. So that one was kind of weird.
It's fine.
But I felt better about like getting Dylan Cease for $13.
Yeah.
He was the first player thrown out after the first break. And
that always happens, man.
I don't want Dylan Cease. Like he was not a target, but I budgeted for like a $15 pitcher as my SP3.
I'm telling you, the most consistent trend I have noticed in auctions is right after the first break, everybody clams up.
Yep.
Like it's just, I don't know what it is psychologically, but there is something about that break that people come back and they're like, I don't know if they're not ready for it, but it's all like the first couple of players, especially. Like that's usually when I want to start being aggressive again, is after I want to be really aggressive early. And then after that first break, I want to hit hard and get multiple players because people tend to be, I don't know, a little gun shy when it comes to those. I will say your bench does have one of my spring risers that I've already written about, Max Meyer.
Yeah.
And I got to add Kobe Mayo because he's absolutely a spring riser, even if you're not a big believer in
Max Meyer, the Athletics Max Meyer, right?
No.
No?
Marlins.
Marlins pitcher, Max Meyer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking Max Muncy. The Athletics Max Muncy has had a fantastic spring. We can get into more. We can get more into that.
Max Meyer, I'm not really a believer in Max Meyer, but I know Nick Pollock likes him. Smarter people than me think Max Meyer still has some potential. He's throwing hard again this spring. He's throwing a sweeper as well as the slider, which I think he toyed with last year, but the sweeper has looked really good so far. So Meyer has definitely moved into that that late round range for me at starting pitcher for sure. So I like that one. Yeah,
I do have some slight concerns about the pitching staff here, not in terms of upside. Like it has plenty of upside, but DeGrom, if he reverts to being injury plagued, Lodolo's no stranger to injury either, and you have you got a third closer potentially in Clayton Beater, and another pitching spot used on Garrett Cole. So like your depth could you could have a depth issue if these guys get hurt.
Yeah, and
you might have to
be hurt to start the year, and Snelling is a stash, so
you might have to make a tough call on Robbie Snelling. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have gone for Cole, and it might have happened early enough that you didn't know how the rest of the pitching staff was going to come together, obviously. But
it actually was pretty late. But I knew going in because the unlimited IL spots, I wanted to get like one of Rodon or Cole because I felt like they were going to go for good prices. But I mean, comparatively, like look at the team right next to me. Shota Imanaga went for $6. I paid $6 for Garrett Cole. Like I have Imanaga ranked higher. Like I'd rather just have Imanaga in a vacuum.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So that was one of those things where I think I was kind of like too tied to like, getting one of those injured pitchers later on because I have unlimited IL spots when I theoretically didn't have to do that,
People may, watching or listening, they may be like, well, wait a second. Chris drafted more injured pitchers than Frank did. Frank's pitching staff looks better side by side. Yes, but you have to remember, A, Chris is 12 teams, not 15, so the waiver wire is just more abundant. And B, Chris is a points league, not a roto, so it's more forgiving for pitchers. Like you can totally compete in a 12-team points league by just patching up your pitching staff all season long.
Yeah. Now, I will say there were a decent amount of, I thought, pretty interesting pitchers, like, for a deep league that just didn't get drafted in the reserve rounds. Like I ran out of bench spots. I wish I had 4 or 5 more because I wanted to keep drafting because there were some kind of interesting players left. So once I put, Cole on the IL and Kelly on the IL, I'll obviously be picking up some pitchers. But yeah, I do agree with the depth.
I will also say our reserve draft, dude, we flew through that draft. Like the reserve rounds, it's 6 rounds, 12 teams. We were done in like 4 minutes. I don't know what, everyone wanted to get out, but like it was like I was like, because I don't have a laptop, so I was doing everything on my iPad, and I like could not keep up with all the picks. So that was stressful as well. It's just not It is harder. I'm so used to drafting on a website where at least I have ADP or default rankings to go by. And this was just like, I just had a spreadsheet with my rankings, and then I had to fill them in as we went. It was causing me some real stress.
Once I finished my filling out my roster, there were still some other people that had to do like $1 bids in the auction. I went immediately to NFBC ADP, their like roster grid of ADP, and I just started writing down as many names that did not get drafted at that point, like just working my way down from round like 20 down. And so that's how I came up with my queue for the reserve rounds. But yeah, it does get a little bit hectic at that.
Yeah, it was stressful.
Just one last thought: $11 for Raisel Iglesias in a 15-team Roto League.
That's good. That's good. People are really.
I wanted Robert Suarez too. I put a $2 bid on him.
People are really in on Robert Suarez is going to just take that job,
which is so funny because Robert Suarez was the one everyone was sure was going to lose his job last season, and now it's the guy who's ahead of him, who by the way has never lost his job. I guess he did briefly last year, but for the most part, Raisel Iglesias' career is untarnished, and but suddenly they don't think he can do the job anymore because he's got a good backup. So I actually bring it up in part because that survey I did, one of the questions was, which closer do you expect to lose his job first? Something like that. Carlos Estevez won, but he just barely edged out Raisel Iglesias.
And like Raisel Iglesias, because like Carlos Estevez was throwing 90 miles an hour in a World Baseball Classic game. Like a very competitive environment. It was, I think it was a game where they beat Brazil or something. So it wasn't that competitive, but still it was,
Brazil.
It's harder to make the argument, it was just spring training when you're like pitching for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. Like you can't get up for that. So yeah, that, Carlos Estevez.
Yeah.
Know the names Matt Strom and Lucas Erceg before your draft for sure.
Last note on Tout Wars before we wrap up here. I was given permission by Nick Pollock to announce this, but for the first time ever, they are launching the Champions League in the Tout Wars, and that draft will be held on this Thursday. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. If I get a link to a draft board, obviously I'll tweet that out and let everyone know where to find it and follow along. But this is a 12-team head-to-head categories daily lineup league with 12 people that have won Tout Wars multiple times in the past. So I am part of that league. So again, I'll be tweeting out the link and things if you want to follow along. It's basically meant to be like for the common fantasy player, the people who just play in, a 12-team head-to-head categories as their home league, to be able to use it to help, like see what our strategies are and how much we pay for players in Fab and things like that, the moves that we're making. And so that's the thought behind it. And so that first ever draft will be happening this Thursday. So very honored, happy to be a part of it, and happy they chose me to be in it. And we'll see what I can do. I got 8th pick out of 12, which is kind of, I don't know. It's like no man's land. I don't love it, but we'll see what happens.
Kyle Tucker, baby.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Ellie, category dominator in a category league. We'll see.
Maybe Jose Ramirez.
With the injury, we'll see. We are going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.